Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is hautemesstom, and today I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. Typically I talk about makeup and review it and talk about my thoughts on makeup, but today I'm going to talk about how makeup changed my life and helped me find my identity. This will be a little bit different also in the fact that it is scripted, so I will go on tangents, that's guaranteed, just on my channel, but just giving you the heads up there. So first and foremost, happy Pride. It is June, so it is the month where we celebrate the gays, the lesbians, the bisexuals, the trans community. We celebrate all of us and each other. And if you are celebrating Pride and going to events, I hope you are staying safe and being cautious and just doing everything you can to be safe. That's what I want for us. And I hope you are vaccinated, because I hope you feel comfortable enough kissing anybody you want consensually this Pride, because that's the energy that we're bringing. So it is Pride Month, and I'm just gonna ask for just a little bit of something. So since it is Pride Month, I would love for you to donate to a local organization here in Pittsburgh. It is called Sisters Pittsburgh. Sisters Pittsburgh is a Black trans-led organization in the Pittsburgh area. They do so much good for our community, and specifically the trans and non-binary community of our city, and specifically Black trans people, Black trans people, specifically Black trans women, who, if you didn't know this already, were at such a higher risk of violence, homelessness, and poverty than the rest of us. So if you could donate some money to them, I would really appreciate it. And if you don't donate to Sisters, I think if you have extra money to donate and you want to do it locally, please find out some organizations in your area to donate to, and that will go to good things for the LGBT community. I would really appreciate it. Also, I will have all the information for Sisters Pittsburgh linked down below. We're not going to talk about how I progressed in my makeup journey and my technique and how good I was at makeup. I mean, obviously I'm stunning, but I didn't really feel like doing eyeshadow today, so I just felt blushy and I wanted to do like this blushing pink moment. That's where we're at. Before I start telling my story, I do want to kind of make a disclaimer. It's not a content warning, but it is a disclaimer. I don't believe that wearing makeup or putting on nails or painting your nails, I don't think that makes you gay. I don't think that makes you queer. I don't think that changes your gender. I don't think that does anything. It is simply a visual expression of something. So I just need you to know that up top, I'm going to be talking about in a way that it has changed me, but I do not think inherently that that doing makeup or doing these things does any of that. I'm not trying to perpetuate that stereotype, but I will say that makeup helped me discover a lot of things about me, and that's what I'm discussing in this video. Before we get into the journey with makeup, I think it's good for some backstory and how I came to be who I am. So I was lucky enough to be born into a loving family, and my parents weren't perfect by any means, but whose parents are, I don't think anyone's. Even if you have the best parents, I don't think anyone's parents are like gonna be perfect. That's just not it. But I was lucky enough to have parents that allowed me to explore things that maybe other parents in the 90s wouldn't let their little boy explore. I loved the color pink, and I was allowed to buy things and wear things that were pink. I always liked the girls' shoes better when I was a child, and I was allowed to get the girls' shoes. I was always obsessed with the girl characters on television shows, and I was allowed to buy the merch that had them on them. I had Barbies, I had Bratz dolls, I had Diva stars. I was really allowed to explore this more, for lack of a better term, feminine. And while we're at the topic, Pink Ranger for life, by the way. I mean, I also had interests beyond the Pink Ranger. I took dance lessons. I was allowed to be in gymnastics, and I know that's a very privileged opportunity for me to have had. But I was also allowed, we had the means to allow me to do them, and then I was also allowed to do them. I was afforded the time and space to explore essentially any interests that I had, and I know that's super uncommon. I feel so lucky that that was my experience. That being said, I'm sure there were conversations being had behind my back about me as a child, which is like gross to think about. And I'm sure other parents said things to my parents about the interests I had and them allowing me to explore those interests. But I'm happy to not know. And I'm thankful that I was protected from them, because I don't want to say like those conversations might have happened. I'm like positive that they happened. As I continued to grow through middle school and high school, I kind of struggled to figure out who I was, but everyone else seemed to know who I was. I was different, right? And as a young person, I wasn't very self-aware. I didn't see myself as different. I was just a kid. We were all just kids, but I was the exclusion. Now, I'm not saying it was the only exclusion, but like, you know, people had things to say about the way I presented myself. I didn't feel different, but the idea of me being different was projected onto me. And I think that's partly because I didn't really have a style. I was like a sweatpants and like cartoon t-shirt kind of kid. And I didn't really develop a style until I was about 8th grade. And it wasn't a particularly good choice. I was wearing shirts that said, if I gave a crap, I would have asked you, or something like that. And it was brown and it just had white lettering on it. It was very ugly. I would say when I did find a style, it was like pseudo emo. And I say pseudo because I listened to Evanescence on a regular basis and I thought that was enough, but I wasn't really part of the culture, and I don't want anyone to come for me because I thought I was emo. I really did, okay? During my middle school years, isn't funny. I started seeing a social worker and going to therapy once a week. I remember a lot of crying, coming home from school and coming to my mother, and I can't tell you really, I don't really remember like what specifically was happening. I don't know if I had like specific bullies, but I knew that I felt out of place because I was told that I didn't fit in by other people. But the only person I can remember is Michael. And Michael, we had tennis lessons together, and you were just the nastiest person to me. And I don't want to wish you unwell, but I do not wish you well. And if you somehow come across me in any kind of capacity in the future, I hope you see things differently now, because you were awful and rotted, and I'm going to use my platform to say that. I think my memory kind of protects me here from whatever traumatic thing. Like it wasn't good. I was going to see a social worker because I like didn't fit in and I didn't know how to cope, and it was bad. It had to have been bad. I was taken to a social worker. I remember like crying every day. Like I do remember that. It was so bad by the end of 9th grade, I was not kicked out of school, but I was like not kicked out of school. I was asked not to come back my final year of my freshman, not come back my final week of my freshman year. So this was in 2006, and in Pennsylvania, we had Pennsylvania Cyber Charter School, and that's what I ended up doing. I did like public online school, and that was like probably one of the better moves I ever made. And the reason I was asked not to come back to school was like a longer story, but long story short, someone else's parent was bullying me, and I called them out on a MySpace bulletin, and it got messy. I'm a little bit proud of myself. I was a pretty shy kid, and up until that point, I didn't bite back, but I bit back. I said, I will not be bullied by another person's parent. And again, if you are a parent, I don't think parents should be bullying other people's children. So my sophomore year and junior year were spent doing forced social activities. So I was in tennis 3 times a week. Again, privilege. I see it. I know it. It's been pointed out to me many times in my adult life. I also had to do South Hills Junior Orchestra, which was at 8 a.m. on Saturdays. And I am an early bird and kind of always have been an early bird. But I will say, no person wants to be like anywhere at 8 a.m. on a Saturday. That's like a group activity. No, especially like hard. Like it was not like easy music that we were playing. Like we had to like audition and we got seats, and like it wasn't just like a fun activity. It was like real musicianship, and like that's cool and all, but like not what my mood was. That's not what I wanted to be doing. And also during this time I was growing my hair out. So it grew out to tit length. Grew out to nipple length. I forgot that I'm on a public platform and I probably shouldn't just be throwing the word tit around. So that was during my sophomore year. I had like long hair, and my junior year, my friend cut my hair into an emo haircut, and she did her best. It wasn't the best haircut I've ever had. And this isn't like a read, I'm not coming for her, but I also I would say that none of the salons nearby would have cut a good emo haircut if there was even a version of an emo haircut that would be considered good. We live in suburban Pittsburgh, so probably not a lot of choice. Around this time, whenever I got the emo haircut, I of course had to do a black box hair dye, But I did eventually stop dyeing my hair black, and then I started bleaching it and dyeing it a bunch of fun colors. And I will say this was like one of the first moments where I realized that dyeing my hair opened like a door to a world of self-expression I hadn't known before. I could change it, you know, often, and it wasn't something I had to commit to. It was just wonderful. And I always thought colored hair was so cool growing up. Like I had like, you know, Barbies with like fun hair and like Bratz dolls, and like I just loved fun, colorful hair. And I was so excited that I could finally do it. Like I had a job, I could buy my own hair dye, and I made it happen. Okay. And no, we weren't doing Manic Panic. We didn't do Manic Panic. We used special effects, and special effects came in a squeezy tube, so it was different, but it was probably like the same product. My junior year was when I started knowing that I was gay. I mean, it's clearly seemed that everyone else knew that I was gay, but I would say that this was around the time where I was realizing that I was homosexual. The idea started coming into my brain. You know, I would say I wasn't really a sexual being until I was a junior, just to put it frank. I wouldn't say I was actually very scared of being gay. I would say that I was actually not like the most comfortable with the idea, but I will say that I have 3 examples of television shows that kind of proved to me that being gay was okay, that I would like be okay being gay. And I would say Marco from Degrassi, The Next Generation was one example I had. And another example I had was the couple Spashly from South of Nowhere, Spencer and Ashley. Great show, not talked about enough in queer conversations, I would say. I would also say maybe because I'm a gay man that could be why, because I'm not a lesbian, and it's a show about lesbians. And my final example would be from Skins, which I watched religiously on Daily Motion back in the day. Very blurry. And I can't say, so I wasn't really scared of being gay. I knew that I didn't really have a say in the matter. And I would say just because I wasn't really particularly bothered to hide the fact that I was gay, nor did I decide why would I present myself differently. Clearly everyone else knew that I was gay, or like knew that I was different, and I was different, which is great. I love being different now, specifically, but like why would I change the way I present myself? If I like all of a sudden came out like a super mask and like, oh, I realized I'm gay and now I have to talk like this. Like, that would be so weird. I mean, I'm sure this wasn't like, I didn't have like a defining moment where I like made this decision, but like I was already feminine. I'm just gonna continue to be feminine and whatever. And I didn't really associate my femininity with being gay. I am sure that a lot of my feminine mannerisms came from the fact that I did connect so deeply with the female characters on the shows and the things that I was consuming. Being me was the only thing that felt natural to me, and I was more or less confused why this seemed to bother other people. By my senior year of high school, beside my haircut, my style was kind of like band tee and jeans, super easy, bootcut jeans. Ooh, not for me, but if you are enjoying that style now, congrats to you. I also made the decision to go back to regular high school my senior year, the same high school that I was asked not to come back the last week of my freshman year. It was time. I couldn't be scared, I couldn't hide behind anything, and I didn't feel as sad or confused, as depressed as I did through middle school and my freshman year. I also, my best friend at the time was in color guard, and I really enjoyed it, and I would be over her house, or she'd be over my house, and she would practice her routines and whatever, and she would like teach them to me, and I like really enjoyed it too. So I decided to audition for color guard. Again, if you don't know what color guard is, it's just like the people in the marching band that have the flags that they twirl. Sometimes they have rifles. My team did not. We didn't do rifles. I decided to audition, and I made the team. My mother wasn't thrilled with this decision that I had made, because then I was going to be more visible than I ever have before by essentially, I'm not associating color guard with being gay. I don't think that that's true. Again, like at the top of the show, I said, like, I don't think these things inherently make you gay, but like, it was a choice at the time. It's like the late 2000s, right? 2009, 2008. Not a lot of people were doing what I was doing, but I will tell you, I wasn't the first guy on the auxiliary in my high school. There was a guy who twirled baton, who was a majorette before before me, so he paved the way for me a little bit. I don't know how much he had to fight or if he was even the first one. I just know about him. This year was about finding my joy and living it. And you know what? I honestly, like my senior year of high school, while it wasn't like a picture perfect movie situation, I can't really complain about it. Nothing traumatic. Like I don't feel any kind of way about my senior year. I remember my senior year, which is good. I don't remember a lot of things that happened before my senior year of high school, which is troubling, but that's for me and my therapist to work out and not for you and I to work out here on YouTube. One positive, I think because I had decided to present myself what felt organically to me and do things that felt organic to me, garnered a lot of respect. And I understand that that's like not going to be the case for everyone in every situation, but I think in my personal situation, it definitely did. I think, while I'm sure people were saying mean shit behind my back about me being in color guard, I never felt like it made its way to me. And I would say like the conversations I did have a couple times that were supposed to make me feel uncomfortable, I just kind of flat out said, being on color guard makes me happy and looking this way makes me feel happy. And like, that's just kind of is what it is. It was dropped. I don't know. I don't remember being bullied to my face. My senior year of high school. Being authentic was a real benefit to me. It behooved me to be more authentic to myself. My freshman year of college, I basically had the emo haircut still, fun color streaks in the front. Yeah, my freshman year of college, not my favorite, so we're just gonna like skip past it. But my sophomore year, this is a big shift in my life. I would say that this is when I started actively presenting myself as gay, visibly gay. Not the best representation, but I was like doing something, right? I was like making bold choices. Now you might have think that the stuff I said before were like maybe bold choices, but like I was like making choices. I was wearing like the boldest of colors. I got a better haircut. My whole head was bright purple. I was working and going to school so I could buy my own clothes, and I bought jeggings. I bought some American Apparel LeMay Batwing hoodies. One of them I still have to this day. I'm sorry that I bought American Apparel. I really bought in. I drank the Kool-Aid. I thought it was like the right thing to do. I thought we were buying sustainable clothing. I don't really know. I don't know, but like we thought we were doing something back in 2009, okay? I also had Fergalicious by Fergie Booties, and to this day, let me tell you, those were my favorite boots that I've ever owned, and they fell apart and I forgot that cobblers exist. Cobblers still exist, y'all. I could have got my boots fixed. This new visible representation of myself, I would say I have a new attitude. Miss Patti LaBelle said I had a new attitude. Okay, I have no better word for this, and I would say at the time of this age range, I used the word I'm about to say a lot. Or I'm gonna spell it, okay? Because I don't want to say it, you know. But I was see you next Tuesday. I was so vain and so self-important, and I still have those qualities to this day. And I wouldn't be here on the internet talking about myself to you if I didn't feel some kind of vanity and self-importance. But 19, 20-year-old me, lacked self-reflection, lacked all of these things that really balanced out. But the flip side of the coin is, when I think about this era of my life, when I think about this time of my life, I think about it so fondly. I was never bolder. I mean, like, I am bold now, but I was, like, never bolder than I was. I was saying things that if I heard myself say them back would be, like, so cringe now. But, like, but I also, another very important thing that was happening around this time in my life is that I was cultivating my own culture. Now, I need to be honest with you. I did not have any queer people personally in my life growing up. And I also still at this point where, at Point Park, there were more queer people, inherently because it was a performing arts school. I wasn't in a performing arts major, but it was a conservatory, so there was a lot of dance and theater, and you know, it was much gayer than my experience in a rural school in Pennsylvania. I started cultivating my own culture, and it happened to be queer. I just didn't know that it was queer. I just like fell into it. So I would say I started listening to Marina and the Diamonds at this time. And with that came like Florence and the Machine. And of course I was already listening to Lady Gaga. And like, I knew that was like pretty queer, but like all this other stuff that was like layering on top of it, I didn't like realize was like all just like, we all kind of have, like not all of us, but like, I was like watching shows that were more like leaned more queer. And I just like, it was just like, these things And like curating myself with these things and surrounding myself with these things was like a very big deal at the time, because I think up until then I wasn't seeking out my own culture. I was just like allowing things to happen to me. My sophomore year of college, this is gonna sound very funny to you if you knew me at the time, or funny to you even if you don't know me based on what I just told you. This would be the year, also be the year that I would come out. I, at that point in my life, I was running under the assumption that everyone just like knew I was gay, just like everyone knew I was gay. So I like felt like I didn't have to say it. Unfortunately, my mother disagreed. She needed a moment, and I was washing the dishes, and she was sitting in the living room. I was not really one to do chores. So my mom asked me while I was washing the dishes if I was gay, and I figured, what's the point of lying? I just said yes. I was in a Rue 21 shirt that had like sparkly sunglasses on it, and you know, I remember the shirt distinctly. There's no point in lying. And the real reason I hadn't come out to my mother up until this point was I felt like we disagreed on a lot of things, and homosexuality definitely felt like one of those things. I was pretty sure that once I was out officially that my mother would stop supporting me financially. I wasn't sure that she was going to kick me out of the house, but I thought I wasn't going to be able to go to college anymore. You know, that was kind of my fear. When I said that I was gay, whenever I answered yes to her question, she said, "I always knew." It was like very melodrama, but that's how I remember it. I don't know how dramatic it was. So then she started crying, and we had a conversation. I like didn't understand why she was crying, because I was like, if you always knew, then why is this even a moment that we are having? She did mention that she thought I was trans based on like my inherent love for feminine things, which I guess I can see now. And also my father and I had a fight whenever I was a sophomore or junior in high school about trans people, because I learned about it in my psychology class, and my dad thought those people were messed up in the head, and I said, that's fucked up that you think that way, because these people obviously did not make the decision. I probably reacted as heavily as I did because I already knew I was gay at the time, but just saying. He did come to me and apologize later. I don't know if his opinion on that has actually changed, but we don't talk about it anymore because we love to suppress things. So anyway, back to my mom and I having a conversation in the living room about this, and my brother came downstairs to grab a drink from the refrigerator or something, or like to eat grapes. It was like something very weirdly specific, and my mom was like, "Are you going to tell him?" And my mom actually doesn't talk like that at all, but like this is fun for affectation. And my brother was like, "What?" And I was like, "I'm gay." And he was like, "Okay," continued on. That's an ally. My brother, an ally. So now I'm out and officially gayer than I've ever been. But unfortunately, this momentum doesn't really keep up. I had the yearning to leave the city of Pittsburgh and move on to possibly bigger, better things. So I transferred schools again because I was moving to a city where I didn't know anyone. I didn't diss all of my eccentricities, but I did try to downplay them a little bit more than I had been. And I wanted to start dating people, and I had the unfortunate thought that I might want to date myself looking like this, and I have to be masculine because that's the only way to be desirable as a gay man, which is very upsetting. I had a pink mohawk. I said goodbye to it. I dyed my hair box brown. The clothing didn't really change, but it was mostly tees and jeans was my main MO. And then if I would go out, I would put it on the Ritz, if I do say so myself. While I was in Chicago, I did go on a few dates with a few different people. I didn't feel like I was suppressing myself in any way, but I do think I was subconsciously foiling myself in many ways because I wasn't really allowing my sparkle to shine, for lack of a better term. I was just succumbing to a lot of pressures because I didn't know what I was doing. I had never met anyone like me, and I don't know how to else to point that out. I had never met someone like me before, so I had no tracks to run across. So at some point in Chicago, I shaved my head. Funny. And for the rest of my tenure in Chicago, I had a buzz cut like this. I can't stress enough that when I say I was presenting more masculine, it's barely presenting more masculine. I moved back in with my parents when I was done with college. Didn't finish for a few more years, but anyway, my initial 4 years was up. Now that I was back home, I was a little lost. After living in Chicago and I was like more exposed to other gay men, I tried to fit the mold that I like saw by them. So I don't know how else to describe the style at the time, specifically of gay men, but like remember the word metrosexual, that term metrosexual, where it would be like put together, like cute, fitted, a lot of like H&M for men, a lot of Forever 21 for men. That was like the general vibe and style that I was putting out there. But I did start dyeing my hair purple again. But this time I was having it done professionally. Hi, Ashley, if you're watching this, I still appreciate you. You were a real one back when you were my hairstylist, and I loved you. That kind of style held out for the next couple of years. That's like boring, just run-of-the-mill gay man style. This well put together fitted style. Then I moved closer to the city of Pittsburgh. The suburb I lived in didn't really have like anything for me. I didn't have like a queer family that I had made for myself, and I wouldn't find that again like at all really for a few more years. Also, my queer family is still taking applications if you would like to apply. Link is in the description box below. Moved into the city. I started going to gay bars, but like I still felt like really uncomfortable with that. Even though I had like lived in Chicago, I like never went to Boys Town. I never went to Boys Town when I lived in Chicago, which is, I mean, like I went a couple times, but like not at night. I like wasn't comfortable enough doing that. When I moved into the city, my good friend Heather kind of held my hand and like led the way, and I like started making space for myself in these spaces. In 2016, something would find me that would change my life in a lot of ways. Actually, it's a pretty big deal, and it's gonna sound stupid, and if you know me at all, you might be surprised. And that was RuPaul's Drag Race. I had never been exposed to drag before, not in a way that was like easily consumable for me. Before this, I was like very confused by it because, again, if you remember where I was like trying to appear more masculine because I felt like I was too feminine, and it like nothing was like matching up, you know? But then I saw drag and I was like, oh, what's this? It subverted everything, and I didn't understand why men would want to dress like a woman or whatever, or like perform. Like I didn't get it, but then all of a sudden I saw it, and I'm sure a lot of the way I was feeling is like internalized toxic masculinity, internalized homophobia, and internalized misogyny. But whenever my eyes finally opened and I like accepted this kind of entertainment into my life, I was enamored with it. One, RuPaul's Drag Race is like wildly entertaining, and I can't take that away from it, even though I have my feelings about it. And two, this would be my entry point into makeup. I've told this part of my story very many times across very many platforms, but to catch you up in case you hadn't, and this is like the first time you're interacting with me and my content, I decided around June of 2016 that I wanted to be Bianca Del Rio for Halloween. I am not really big on dressing up for Halloween because I don't think it's fun. I think it can be fun. I just don't think we're doing Halloween right, but that's a conversation for another time. I did think though, if I was going to do it, I had to do it big. Like I had to do it right, I had to get a wig, gotta do it all. So I asked my friend Alex if she would do my makeup because she already had makeup, yada, yada, yada. And she encouraged me to learn to do it myself. So I spent 4 months practicing to do my makeup, learning to do it myself, and trying to get something to resemble like what Bianca did. And I did okay. I'm proud of what I managed to do in the short amount of time I learned how to do makeup. Did I look like Bianca? Really? No, I actually looked more like Jinx, which was weird. Did I do drag? Sort of. However, I did learn over time that I do have an immense appreciation for drag performers. Drag performing wasn't for me. I wasn't really interested in going that route. However, the day after Halloween, it's November 1st, and I have hundreds of dollars of makeup just in my house, and I was doing it for one night, and now I just had all this makeup, okay? So, but what I did learn when I was doing and learning makeup is that I liked putting it on. The act of putting it on was very therapeutic, and I enjoyed it, and like the idea of creating something different on my face than what was the reality was very cool to me. And I obviously knew that was like the power of makeup, but I didn't know the power of makeup until I was like, you know, putting it on myself. It was a new way to temporarily express myself, even more temporary than coloring my hair. And this was new and exciting, and I had a lot to learn, and I was like scared, but I knew I wanted to learn more. Also, 2016 was another big year because the 2016 election, I didn't know how much my world would feel rocked after that. Yeah, I would say I would have been fairly certain we would have our first woman president, and I was wrong. I found out the morning after what the results were and had a nice anxiety throw up in my backyard. I spent the rest of that day deciding how I would proceed with this news, and then it kind of clicked. I decided that I needed to be gayer than I had ever been before, and visibly so, but in the way where I was going out of my way to be visibly queer, and not in the way that I just inherently am, which I know that I am just kind of, even if you take all of this away, I still appear to be queer. Like if you put me in normal clothes, you'll still know. This idea of me presenting more visibly gay or queer, I think queer is a better word, and we'll talk more about that in a second, but like I think queer is a better term for what I wanted to present as, because this is like not a good thought, but I did think if I presented more queer, it was more of like a rebellion to what was going on in the world. It was like a little way that I could push back and say, you're not gonna win. Like this isn't over. I'm here to fight. It would take quite a while before I think that I would consider myself like good at makeup. For the first 6 months or so, I would consider myself like, it's like my glam rock period, where there was intention, but there wasn't really like follow through, wasn't really like saw all the way through. Blending was like not a thing that I was trying to do. It was like meh at best. But what I do love about this period of my makeup journey is that I was pretty fearless. I would put whatever I wanted on my face and kind of like wherever I wanted, even though I thought I was doing it right. I really wasn't, but I like also didn't really care that I wasn't doing it right. Being able to like be that free with experimentation, the fearlessness I have and had like was so amazing. And I think that I afforded myself a lot of trial and error and like failing, and like that was very good for me. I sometimes forget that I have like a fearlessness built inside of me, because it doesn't feel like I'm being fearless in the moment, but I think retrospectively you and I can look at what I've told you so far and see that like I was making some big bold choices, even though in my head at the time it didn't feel like I was like making ground on anything, but I just like didn't realize it at the time. But I have this fearlessness inside of me, and like now when I do my makeup, I could spend like 40 minutes looking at my eyeshadow palettes trying to figure out which one I want to use. Like I can't make decisions, and I don't know how to, like I can be bold, I just like often choose not to be, which is like stupid, and I don't know why I do that. So there was a distinct shift from when my makeup went to what is going on with his face to oh yes, I did this on purpose. I did this on purpose, and it looks good. I did this on purpose. Like this was on purpose, and I did it. While I always enjoyed putting makeup on, it was definitely more of a war point before the moment where I like clicked and shift. And I can tell you the exact look. I can show you up on the screen the exact look where things switched. This is when I figured out that I really enjoyed the destination as well as the journey. And of course I already thought that like shape-shifting was really cool. Then to know that the hours that I had been putting into this hobby, I gained a skill, and like seeing how far I had come, and like visibly being able to see like that I can do this now, and I can like purposefully put things and do things and make it look the way I actually want it to look was incredible. I fucking love the way I look when I put makeup on. And when I have makeup on, I feel so powerful and unstoppable, and I feel so into myself, and it is like the best feeling in the world. And I don't want you to misconstrue that I don't think I look wonderful without makeup on, because I know that I do. I take very good care of my skin, and I make a concerted effort to look put together without makeup, but to have like a superpower, a super veil that I can put on to enhance the way I feel, not how people perceive me, but just the way I feel. It's something very special. The evolution of my makeup, I was also realizing that a lot of the clothes I have didn't make me feel very good. I didn't want to button up. No, certainly not me. Anything with a collar? No. And this realization with this realization, I started dabbling in buying clothes that made me feel better. So I started buying more traditionally feminine clothing. And it's not that I didn't really do that before, but I like really leaned into it. I started buying like jumpsuits with like deep cut v-necks. Like this shirt would be like something more along the lines of this. And when I started wearing these clothes, something clicked. It was like very empowering. These clothes just felt right. And then I had all the puzzle pieces put together. I finally felt whole. And I would say that I'm in my final form now. Obviously changes still can happen, but like, this is like my final form, right? It just feels very good. And my neighbor's doing construction. I'm sorry if you can hear that. I don't know if I would have found makeup by a means of self-expression on my own, the way that I did if I didn't start watching Drag Race. And for that, I'm very thankful. And as I found my self-expression to feel more comprehensive of the way I felt on the inside, I realized how powerful I felt. I was making more friends. I was demanding respect and being more vocal than I've ever been. I even have a large group of friends I made specifically because of my interests in makeup. Hi, honeys. I would even say finding myself in this way has helped me in a relationship that I was in last year. Knowing and finding myself before my first relationship, which happened last year, was a big benefit to me. I had such a quiet, calm confidence that I had with what was going on that I did not expect. I expected my first relationship to be very messy, and that there were messy things happening, but not, I would say that I was very self-assured, and I was certain that I didn't feel scared. I didn't feel like the inkling that like he was always like cheating on me or anything like that. Like there was just like no anxiety around it. It just like felt right. And I was like very calm and confident in myself in that situation, which was so unexpected. And I think knowing and finding myself and my being myself really was like a benefit to me during all of that. That relationship didn't work out in the end. I am so proud of myself and the confidence that I had at the time. So like I said, I'm in my final form. With that being said, I need to be both honest with you and myself, but I think it's time for a second coming out. Well, I have been silently changing my pronouns in all my profiles to he, they. I did it on my own volition. No big deal, just doing it myself. But I think it's time to say it. I'm non-binary, and that feels like weird to like have to say because I feel like, again, look at me. Yeah, I was never really afraid to say that I like be non-binary, at least like not within the last few years. It feels like a very natural thing for me to say and express here. But I think it did feel important to say something this Pride. We just had a very long year locked up in our houses, and I think it's time to just like continue to discover and live as my true self. As far as my pronouns go, I'm not really super concerned about them. So if you want to call me he, him, that's great. I'm okay with that. But if you would be more comfortable calling me they, them with my pronouns, that's great too. And I'm not going to be really picky about that. But I do need to emphasize that just because I am not picky about my pronouns as a non-binary person, I need you to know that there are people who are it's very important to them that you get their pronouns right. And so make sure you check in with people whenever you start having conversations with them to just check their pronouns. Just ask them, hey, what are your pronouns? And that way you can get it right. And if you make mistakes, it's easy to apologize and move on. But again, for me, not a big deal. While I was reflecting on Pride and what it's meant to me, makeup, clothing, and general presentation were a very important part of my Pride. I love being visible and I love being able to break barriers, and those are part of my very core, as you can see in my history. My dog's coming to pay me a visit. Now that I'm out as a non-binary person, I'm hoping to learn more and help other people understand that it's okay to look like me or look very different from me and express yourself however you feel like you need to express yourself, that there is a space for you in this world. And one more final thing before I wrap this up. I just want to say that I'm so thankful for the discourse on gender that I'm seeing in the younger generation. These conversations weren't happening 10, 12, 15 years ago. And I think if they were, I would have learned a lot about myself a lot faster. And I just want to encourage you all to like keep having these conversations and being open to this dialogue and listening and asking questions. I think it's so fabulous. Like I said, this would have been like very helpful in my formative years if this was the kind of conversations that were happening. Although even if these conversations were happening around me at that time, I could have been too small-minded to hear them or see them. So I think Gen Z, that you are doing an amazing job creating a more welcoming and safer world for people like me to live authentically and other people to live authentically. And I thank you so much for that. It's time to wrap things up. Thank you so much for allowing me to share my journey of self-discovery with you. I hope you got something out of this video, and if you haven't already, if you want to like this video or subscribe to me. I will say, if you were looking for more commentary stuff, this isn't like super typical of what I do, but if this video goes over well, I might consider doing more. So I thank you so much for watching. There's so many other things that I do with my life that are linked in the description below, like a couple podcasts and Instagram. It's all there. Check me out. I will see you in my next video. Thank you again. Bye-bye.